So in this screencast, I'm going to sort of give an overview of how we can possibly use Illustrator to create infographics. Recall that in Photoshop we had layers. The same concept of layers also applies to Illustrator. So as you can see on the right side here, I have layer 1. So let's say I want my layer 1 as the background layer, which could be an image. I'm not going to use an image. I'm going to use a static gray color. So to create a background on this layer 1, I go to my rectangle tool here. So select the rectangle tool if it's already not selected. And I'm going to draw a rectangle for the whole canvas. So I select, it says intersect, tells me that I'm at the edge. Go all the way down and it says I'm at the edge. Okay. And right now it's white rectangle on layer 1. So I'm going to change the color to gray from my color swatch, like that, better. And right now if I see, it sort of has a black border. So I go here and I say for the border or the stroke, I don't want any. So I select none. So there I have my background. Of course I need to select. Okay, now I think it's gone. Yeah. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is lock this layer. This is my background. I've decided I don't want to change it. So I go here on my layers and lock it. Okay. So it's not, my background is not editable. Now on top of this layer, I can create other things that will go in my infographic, or I could bring other things in. It could be maps, images, shapes, text could go in here. So I'm going to create a new layer called layer 2, and on this layer I can put whatever things that go into my infographics. I typically recommend have multiple layers, so one layer only has maybe 1 or 2 objects, and then you can lock that layer once you're done with it. So let's say in this layer I could have rectangles, like timelines, circles, but I want to go beyond and make a little bit more of a complex shape. So I'm going to start with the rectangle tool. So I select a rectangle. Okay. So I create my rectangle, and right now it doesn't have a border, and the fill of this rectangle is same as the background. So that's hard to see if I unselect it, right? I can't see where my rectangle is. So I'm going to go back and select it, and I'm going to change the color to white. Now I can easily see it. Okay. And now let's say I want a circle. So I create a circle, and again, to make sure you draw a perfect circle, hold the shift key down, and then you can draw a circle. Okay, so let's say this is my circle. It's about the same rate, same diameter as the height of my rectangle. Because what I really want to do is take this and align them. What I really want to do is have a shape like this. Okay. The only one way to do it is, I do this. Okay. Drag the rectangle and the circle together and make sure they intersect. So all I did was I created it separately, and I dragged it up and make sure it says it intersects, top, bottom, center, and there it is. Now the problem is if I accidentally move one piece, the other one gets left behind. So what I want to do is combine them two into one shape. So if I undo it, and what I want to do is I'm going to select both of them, and to unite them, if I go to Window and have my Pathfinder selected, which shows up here, it gives me an option to unite. So I can unite those two. So now this is just one shape. It looks nice, but say I want it more like this part is blending out of the background. So I can select this, and it's white. I can go to my gradient panel here and select a linear panel, right? So I select my linear panel. So it sort of gives me more of a 3D gradient look, but it's still not what I want. So what I want is this color, this side color, to mesh with the background. So I select on my gradient tool, I select, double click on this, and it brings up the swatch color for that side. And I believe I used this one for the background. So if I select that for that swatch and white on one end, we can see that it sort of looks like it blends in better. So that's how I can create this shape, and what I'm going to do is copy this. So to copy in Illustrator, if I hold this and I hold my Alt key down and I drag it, while holding the Alt key down, it makes a copy. So I make one copy, I made two copies, and I have 4 copies of what I originally made. So I don't have to do the work again. And what I want to do is, I could just make sure they're aligned, so they intersect here. Another one goes in here, and another one. Okay? Now, they sort of don't line up, right? So I can make sure they align and intersect too, right? So this one will tell me when it aligns. I'm going to move those out too. Right there. Okay. Same with this one. It'll tell me when it aligns in the center. There it is. Same for this one. Okay. Now I want to rotate this so my circles alternate on each side. So if I hold this down, hold my shift key down, and it comes up in the middle, this rotating arrow. So now I can just select this, hold my shift key down, and rotate this, and do the same thing for the other one. Now that looks good, and I can select all of them together by selecting and putting them. Let's see if this is the centerpiece of my infographic. There it is, and I can add some text to it now if I want. Well, let's say I want sort of a moon here. So I select my circle tool again, and I want to create a circle a little bit smaller than that. Let's say that's good enough. Okay, so it sort of right now has a gradient because that was we selected. Let's say I want fill to be this. Okay, so I can drag this and align it, work it so make sure it sort of looks equal distance. Okay, and I'm going to copy this. So again, holding Alt down and dragging it makes a copy of this. Holding Alt down and making another copy, right? So I can make those copies like this. But I don't need this, I only need one. What I want to do here is take this and apply this gradient right here, okay, the white and black. So I select this gradient, gives me this, okay, so it looks like a moon. I want to make a copy of this moon and circle, hold Alt down, drag it, and there is another copy. I want to make this a little smaller than the other one and drag it, align them right there. Okay, so now I sort of have a gradient circle inside a gradient circle, and I'll make it a little bigger. All right, maybe a little smaller. I'm just playing around with it to see, you know. Okay, there it is. So now what I could do is take these and drag this on top of this. Now if I select this, these two, this one, oh, I've got to do something else before I do that, okay? So I leave these two here for now, and I can go back to my Pathfinder And here, what I do is minus front, okay? So only show me the front part and get rid of the inner circle, okay? So now if I drag this here, it sort of looks like this, okay? So I can align them up a little better. All right, so that looks aligned, okay? Now I want this to sort of be more opaque. So if I go to my transparency, I can select my transparency at 50%, and sort of it gives you that, 3D look here, okay? Again, my circles are not aligned perfectly, so, but you can, manipulate and play with it. Now I can just copy this, okay? By holding Alt and dragging it, I can drag it here. Oh. Okay. Drag it. Hold Alt down. Oh, I need to make it opaque again, don't I? Somehow it did undo something. Okay, there it is. So I select this, hold Alt down, and I can drag a copy here. I can do another copy here, and another copy here. And now I can even play with colors. So let's say this one, once I select, I want this to be a little orangish. I want this to be a little greenish. I want this to be a little reddish. Okay, so there I have, one complex graphic on this layer. Okay, now I can add text to it. Again, that's just one way you can create more complex shapes. Okay, make sure you use different layers as you're thinking about creating your infographic, and only keep one or two things on each layer. And if you're done with that layer, you can lock it and save multiple copies.